Welcome to Litter Media Live Special Edition. I'm Mike Smith, your host, and joining us today we have the new director of the Chillicothe Veterans Affairs Medical Center, Mr. Ken Mortimer. Ken is joining us on our special edition today, brought to you by Kingston National Bank. Back with Ken right after this. And we're back with Ken Mortimer. Ken, welcome, and welcome to Chillicothe, by the way.
Hey, thanks. It's great to be here, Mike.
Give us a little background. You were telling me before we went on the air, you're no stranger to the Buckeye State.
No, I'm not. I grew up in West Central Ohio, up in Lima. Did my undergraduate degree work at Ohio Northern. But then left for about 20 years all over the United States. And I got to tell you, it's great to be back and serving veterans in my home state.
And immediately before here, you said you were down in the Huntington, West Virginia area.
That's right, and really grew to love serving Appalachian veterans. So this is a perfect place for me.
Of course, the Chillicothe VA Medical Center here in recent months has been in the news quite a bit. We had the national director here with a lot of our congressmen, our U.S. senators, wanting to try to keep the medical center open here. We got some good news a few months back. So now as you come in as the new director, where do you pick that ball up and where are you taking it to?
Sure. Well, I got to tell you, our focus here is on growth. You know, we want to be building new programs and services and expanding the ones we've already got and be sure that we are providing the best care, safest, high quality, and engaging care to our veterans. So we're not looking behind us. We're looking forward and looking forward to how we serve our veterans.
You know, for many years, and I'm going back a long time ago, Chillicothe Veterans Affairs Medical Center mostly was known for psychiatric care for our veterans. That has evolved over the years. Where do you see specifically some of the specialties for Chillicothe VAMC?
So I think, you know, we have a lot of expertise, a lot of great expertise in mental health and long-term care and rehabilitation. And that's really where we're able to provide outstanding services. We also have great partner VA medical centers in Columbus, in Dayton, in Cincinnati, and really all over the country. VA has the benefit of being an integrated system, so no one facility has to do it alone. And we're focused now on figuring out how we ensure that everything we do is the best we can make it. And, you know, we are looking at growing our acute rehabilitation. That's something we don't currently offer that we're looking to grow into and expand. And that, you know, and that's going to take a lot of work and probably some time, but we're going to get there, and we're focused on making that change in a way that expands what we do so well and have done for nearly 100 years.
With an aging facility, and it's almost a century old, if not a century old, what kind of challenges do you face there?
So, you know, with any aging building, there are infrastructure challenges. You can't necessarily knock out walls and do a lot of those things the way you might normally. But the thing is, a lot of people, they come through the campus and they drive through and they see the old buildings and they think it's old. But when you go inside, and I would invite, you know, a lot of people who, especially veterans, who may not have been to our facility, to see inside the facilities. Our engineering and facilities team has done a fantastic job. We have some extremely modern technology, beautiful facilities, things that you would, just looking at the outside of the building, you'd say there's no way you can do that in a 100-year-old building. And to be honest, sometimes the impossible is merely only difficult for them.
Where are we now in relation to COVID and people being able to come out and visit?
Sure. So visitation right now, particularly for our nursing home veterans, is Monday through Saturday. They no longer need to be tested, but they do still need to be screened. And as long as you can wear a properly fitting mask and are over the age of 2, folks can visit. For our hospice veterans who may have a different set of needs, visitation is 7 days a week. And we want to make sure that those veterans have access to the loved ones, and that, more importantly as well, that their loved ones have access to them.
I know over the years, and again, I've been, as I shared with you, local broadcasting for over 40 years. I know in the past there was always a desire for the community to come out and show their appreciation for these veterans, many of them who need to stay on campus, just to let them know that they haven't been forgotten.
Absolutely, no question. So we've got 2 upcoming events that I think will let our community and our veterans who may not do much with the VA interact with us. The first is Saturday, May 20th. We're having our inaugural, our first ever walk, run, roll concert and car show. And that's going to have a 2-kilometer walk, run, and roll event. Live music, refreshment, events for the kids, and a classic car show. Should be an amazing time. And the second thing, June 16th is Veterans Appreciation Night. So we'll be having lots of events on campus leading up to what I hope will be a great paints game.
And you mentioned the paint. That's been a tremendous relationship that the VA has had with our community in the last almost 30 years now with the paints. And it gets the people out on the campus to see what's going on there.
It really does. And, not only the paints, but, I know the Veterans Memorial Stadium has school ball games. The Chillicothe VA, maybe more so than a lot of other VAs, really has roots in this community. It's one of the things I love about not only about working at the VA, but living in and being around the Chillicothe community is those roots and that passion for our veterans that comes out in so many different ways. You're exactly right.
We were talking earlier about the age of the facility and in some regards the age of our veterans who are out there, but the age of our veterans is changing because of Iraq, of Afghanistan, and a lot of those veterans who need that care too.
It really is, and that's one of the things that I think some veterans, they may say, oh, I don't need VA care. I don't need that care. I'm good. I don't need to take advantage of my VA benefits. The truth is, all of our veterans, no matter the period of conflict, served their nation. They earned those benefits, and we want them to come out, come enroll for care. Maybe you don't need it today. Maybe you'll need it, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. We would like to be serving young veterans too. VA is not your grandfather's VA. We serve women veterans. We serve young veterans. We still serve older veterans, and that's true, but it's not the VA of the past, and we want to give people the opportunity, particularly veterans, to engage with us.
Talking about that modern VA, Ken, talk about telehealth and how that's being used by the Veterans Administration.
Well, sure. Telehealth is huge. It's been one of the things, particularly throughout COVID, that has really exploded in healthcare generally, and VA was always on the forefront of that. In Chillicothe, we offer home telehealth, so we have clinical staff who will work directly with veterans in their home via a variety of means, and they're smarter than me on how those all work. We've got video telehealth so that a veteran could come to one of our clinics in Chillicothe, Portsmouth, Athens, Lancaster, Marietta, Wilmington, and could come and actually sit down in their clinic, but connect maybe to Chillicothe, maybe to Dayton, maybe to Salt Lake City. And that's the beautiful thing. Again, I talked about that one VA system. And then we do what we would call store and forward. So maybe you're a veteran who has a mole and don't know if it's necessarily cancerous. So we've got technology to actually allow people to take an image of that, share it with a dermatologist who may be in Chillicothe and maybe in Cleveland, and let them take a look at that so that the veteran doesn't have to drive to a dermatologist just for that. So really, really neat technology that is constantly expanding.
We've talked, Dan and Ramey and I, on this program, on our daily news topics, whenever we have a story from VA, we try to remind people that you serve multiple counties. I think 18 to 20 area counties?
We do. When you think of Southeast Ohio and Southern Ohio, chances are you're thinking of the Chillicothe VA catchment area. So we go all the way to the Ohio River in Marietta and Cambridge, down to the Ohio River in Portsmouth, over to Wilmington, and then up almost to Columbus outside of Lancaster. So we cover a lot of Ohio, and oftentimes those veterans may not realize that there is a VA clinic available to them, and VA wants to serve them. I think it's important that they know that they know VA is here for them.
A couple of days ago, I think David put out a story. It was a national decision about one of your electronic records. maybe it didn't roll out as quite as well as you wanted it to, but VA is working on that. Talk about it if you can.
Sure. So there was a national pause to our electronic health record modernization deployment. It's currently live at 5 sites. And the organization nationally made a decision to pause further deployments. Chillicothe was on the deployment pathway. We were actively working and training to use that system. But I got to tell you, Mike, I love working for an organization that can prioritize safety, that said we see a safety concern and it's something we need to stop. We need to take a look at it. We need to make sure that the product is ready for the people and the people are ready for the product. In the meantime, we're using this opportunity to help our fellow sites who have gone live to participate in the national work to help ensure that it's the best product. And oh, by the way, this gives us an opportunity to focus on some of those other priorities that we've been working on along the way.
I know that there were some surveys that were out in the last year or two, satisfaction surveys from veterans, and Chillicothe always graded pretty high.
Absolutely. VA as a whole has a 90% trust score among veterans. The report out on that, our veteran experience folks report on that to me weekly. Consistently, we're at 92. I think last week we were at 96% trust. So as I said, it's that relationship that you can really find at a smaller site where it's a family atmosphere, and that's what we have in Chillicothe in our clinics. And boy, it makes you excited anytime you're exceeding the nation and knowing that more than 90% of your veterans trust you for their care. It's a good feeling.
Ken, before we close out, anything you want to add that maybe I haven't brought up as a question?
Yeah. So there are 2 recent pieces of legislation that I want to take a minute and talk about. The first is the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson promised to address comprehensive toxins, or PACT Act. That's a really important piece of legislation because it expands eligibility for health care and potentially compensation benefits to veterans going as far back as Vietnam related to exposures to toxic chemicals. And we know, or we think, based on some of our estimating data, that we've got about 8,000 veterans in southern and southeast Ohio who may be eligible for VA health care or benefits under this new act, but they don't get their care with us. And so we want to make sure that veterans have access to that. And as part of the law, every veteran is entitled to a toxic exposure screening. We've done more than 10,000 screenings since the act rolled out in November of 2022, and we're well on our way to blowing past that. But there's only so many veterans we serve. So I want to make sure that our veterans know that they can get a screening, and then that lets us connect them to registry exams. It allows us to connect them to veteran service organizations or the benefits side for claims. So it's a great entree into the VA system and taking advantage, again, of benefits that those veterans may have earned. The other is the Compact Act. Now, I know they sound alike, but the Compact Act is really cool because it allows us to offer emergency mental health services for veterans who may be in a crisis. You know, veteran suicide is a terrible thing. It's a terrible epidemic. And this law allows us to offer emergency mental health services to veterans who may not ordinarily be eligible for VA health care. And to me, that's so important. I think, if we can help one veteran avoid suicide or, and help them through that mental health crisis, it's absolutely worth doing. So I wanted to highlight those because veterans need to know about that, and our community needs to know about it as well.
Ken, again, welcome to Chillicothe and the surrounding areas that are covered by the Chillicothe VA Medical Center, and we hope you have a long stay.
You know what? I'm loving it so far. I think it's a month today.
Okay.
So it's great to be here. Thanks a bunch.
Again, the new director of the Chillicothe Veterans Affairs Medical Center, Ken Mortimer, he's been our guest today on this edition of Litter Media Live Special Edition, brought to you today by Kingston National Bank. Stay with us. I'll be back with the daily program coming up at about 11 o'clock today on Litter Media Live.